Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. So we're already done the 5-day forecast. You can find the videos about here on the homepage. Just scroll down a bit underneath the link ads. There's also a written version. You get to that via buttons at the top of the page. We're very close to pulling in a big freeze, but not going to quite be able to do it. Actually, the coming 5 days looks fairly mild. Particularly at the weekend, I think it has some quite mild conditions. But check out 5-day forecast to see what's going on. This video is going to take us through the next week to 10 days. So we're going to go towards the middle of January with this update, going to around the 14th of the month. And it looks like next week we're going to put in more of an Atlantic influence, so turn a little bit more unsettled, might turn a bit cooler as well with the winds going into the northwest. No sign of anything overly cold at the moment, but perhaps going a bit cooler than average as we go through into next week. I'll show you the detail in a second. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's 6 articles on all pages. Have a browse, which is click through links. See any articles that you're interested in. Come to page for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. We'll start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies. We've got the east of the Earth here on the top, and the GFS, have a look at that in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure being moved around by a jet stream running above. But extrapolates to low pressure, and red extrapolates to high pressure. So this is the mean flow chart for the coming week to 10 days. This takes us to around the middle part of January, just before the middle part of January. We've got a ridge through the central part of the Atlantic, and then we've got a deep troughing over Scandinavia and covering much of Europe. We're in an Atlantic flow there, but we're a little bit on the cooler side of the jet stream. We're doing something like that with the jet stream and that trough and the ridge. We are aligning things between the trough and the ridge, northwest to southeast. So that does imply quite unsettled conditions, especially for the north. Also implies something a little bit cooler as well coming in from the northern part of the Atlantic. We're not talking about a big freeze there. There's no sort of real Arctic plunge going on and no northern blocking, but it's a little bit cooler, and there could be wintry showers with that across the northern part of the country. The GFS is very, very similar as well. Again, that ridge is through the central Atlantic. Then we've got the trough extending through Scandinavia into Eastern Europe, bringing very cold conditions to eastern parts of Europe again. I would have thought the jet stream is going something a bit like that. So we are almost placed on the cold side of the jet. And again, we're probably aligning things northwest to southeast between the trough and the ridge, which brings the air in from Greenland, which is never going to be a warm direction. It's going to be quite a cold direction, but it's a long sea track, so it is modified by the Atlantic. Nevertheless, it could be cold enough to bring wintry showers next week to northern parts of the country. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles next couple of weeks. These are the upper air temperatures here. So we've got red line, which is 30-year temperature average. A little bit colder than average right now. We're just on the periphery of this big freeze that's engulfing most parts of Europe. If you want to know more about that, check out 5-day forecast. By the weekend, we're going to go mild, so temperatures lifting up over the weekend. And then next week, it looks like, if anything, we're trending downwards overall. So I think as we get into next week, we turn it more unsettled, and we probably bring some cooler or even colder air in from the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere around Greenland. It's also turning more unsettled as well. We've got some rain coming up just there, quite a rainfall spike on Friday, indicating some wet conditions spilling down from the north, but that does lift the temperatures up. And then into next week, it looks like we're quite unsettled there. Not a very wet spell, but more unsettled perhaps than we have been for a little while, with some bands of rain and showers coming through. To the north, as those temperatures start to move downwards, we might find a little bit of wintry potential developing as well. These are the temperature anomalies for the coming week. This takes from the 4th to 12th of January. Look how cold it is still through the coming week across most parts of Europe, everywhere really, except for Ireland, the UK, Denmark and Scandinavia is coming out colder than average. So in the very far northwest, we're at milder than average, but really most parts of Europe look colder than average, and particularly so, again, through the east and southeast of Europe. Some of these places in the southeast of Europe, through the Balkans, going down towards Greece and over towards Turkey. Some places are getting temperature anomalies there, but are around 10 degrees colder than average, almost going off the scale in terms of the severity of cold in the east and the southeast of Europe. But for the northwest, no, it is significantly milder there. Also getting quite cold in America, so cold conditions are extending across the states through the course of the coming week. It's going from the 4th to 12th of January. It's milder down in the southwest, but most parts of America coming out cold now. It looks quite cold over in the east of the states as well. Temperature anomalies still look very much on the driving average side. Precipitation anomalies look driving average in the west, so UK, Ireland, France, going down to Spain and Portugal, very dry conditions there. It's wetter over in the east of Europe where it's colder, so much of that is going to be snow. So this is the generic chart for sunny men from the GFS model, and we've got high pressure down to the south, low pressure up to the north, bringing these westerlies in, all the cold air into the east and the southeast of Europe. Through into next week, and we find a little push of cooler air or cold air from the northwest on Tuesday. That's just on the backside of an area of low pressure that's going into Norway. That could produce a few snow showers up across Scotland. Then the next area of low pressure rolls back in from the Atlantic on Wednesday. That turns it milder and also wetter up in the north and the west. Now, through to the second half of next week, we find that low pressure pushing further towards Scandinavia, and the high pressure going out into central Atlantic. So again, that is turning the winds into the north and the west on Friday the 13th. And then go through to Saturday the 14th. Again, that high pressure is still out to the west of us. They'll bring the winds and the air down from the northwest. So it does look a little bit colder during the second half of next week, and probably enough to be producing wintry showers up in the north. Fairly cold as well, I think, next week across Scandinavia. I think you will find the north to northwesterly winds digging colder air in through the course of next week across Scandinavia. For us in the UK, we've got to move this high pressure further away. I've got to take it up towards Greenland to get sustained cold weather, or we've got to move it down towards Bermuda. Whilst this high pressure is sitting just west-southwest of us, it will continue to allow the winds to come in from the west. Now, we may at times, and we will at times, be getting northwesterly winds and even potentially northerly winds, but they won't be sustained with this high pressure sitting just here. We've got to do something with that high pressure. I say, we've either got to send it northwards to Greenland or southwest to Bermuda, but whilst it's there through that part of the Atlantic just to the west-southwest of us, it'd be very difficult to sustain cold conditions. Nevertheless, we could bring some cooler weather around the top, especially later next week of that high pressure. East WF looks very similar. So on Sunday, we've got a mild ridge through the country, bringing those westerlies through, and then into next week. Turns a bit more unsettled on Tuesday, a little bit colder as well. Then go through into Wednesday, get another push of fairly mildish air off the Atlantic, quite wet and windy with that one. And then after that, through to the end of next week, we're sending things northwest to southeast with the jet stream and with the flow. So that looks quite cold at the end of next week, Saturday 14th of January, day 10. We are within a cold air mass. It's not sustained cold because this next area of low pressure is waiting, and that'll be rolling in a day or so after this chart. And again, that high pressure, we've either got to send it up there and produce some blocking, or we've got to send it down there to produce some colder conditions, send it down towards Norway. But again, whilst that high pressure is sitting just west-southwest of us, we will remain in quite an Atlantic flow, albeit because of the way the jet stream is aligning northwest-southeast, it's quite a cold Atlantic flow, and it is cold enough to produce wintry conditions up to the north. So I think what we can say about next week's weather is nothing sustained or severe in terms of cold conditions, but probably trending towards a cooler and more unsettled period, which might be enough, I think it will be enough at times, to produce some wintry weather up in the north. Cold zonality will be enough to produce snow for Scotland. Probably just cold rain down across southern parts of the country. To get snow into the south, I think we need that high pressure to shift more. And tonight we might have a look at GFS ensembles actually to see whether they're suggesting anything particularly changing with the weather pattern as we go through to the latter stages or into the second half of January. We'll have a look at the GFS ensembles one by one, see what they are suggesting. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out 5-day forecast if you haven't yet done so, and come back later on. We'll have a look at GFS ensembles in the second half of January. Bye for now.